My wife left our son and I for the fourth time. What do you think the course of action should be? Hey everyone, my wife left our son and I just last night, and this is the fourth time within the last 2 years. We've been married for 6 years. I don't really know where to begin, but I guess I'll start from the beginning of when the issues started. About 2 years ago my 34M wife 25F started to change. It was very subtle, but she began to cut off people, including her own mother and siblings. She started to claim she was an independent woman and didn't need anyone as she began hanging out with her coworker, female, often and showing up at home 5 to 6 hours after work, usually drunk. After I confronted her about not being there and causing me to do all of the housework after I got off of work, she got defensive and left to stay the night at her coworker's house and showed back up 2 days later without even saying sorry. On the second occurrence she just randomly started bringing up the past while we were talking about how life was going well and we could pay off our mortgage loan in 2 years. She started to break down out of nowhere and brought up her past and how she was roped at 13 years old by her guidance counselor, how her mother and siblings abused her, and how she had nobody. I comforted her and she pushed me away, and no matter what I said to calm things down she twisted everything I said to make it sound like I was attacking her. She then stormed off without even wearing shoes, or grabbing her phone, and went to the ER at midnight. She came back 3 days later after staying at an old friend's. Afterwards she started counseling and got on medications and was diagnosed with CPTSD and bipolar depression. On the third occurrence it was Christmas Eve and everything was going well, or so I thought, as it had been 5 months since her last episode, and again, out of nowhere she started bringing up her past and said some awful things. She told me that she was a horrible wife and mother and that she was broken and not good enough to be with anyone. She went off on my mother who was present, and when my mother asked what was going on my wife pushed her to the ground and stormed out the back door and ended up going to the ER again and was committed to a mental health center where she spent 5 days. She came back home afterwards and things went well for quite a while, until yesterday. On this latest occurrence she came home drunk as hell, she rarely drinks, and was straight up looking for a fight with me. She baited me into getting mad at her by verbally attacking me and twisted everything I said negatively, and when she couldn't do that she just cried while telling me she was worthless, and in all honesty, she had her mind set on leaving no matter what I did. She ended up leaving again to go to the ER and was committed yet again for about a week, and when I called her after 3 days she said she was doing well and couldn't wait to come home and things seemed to be doing better. Fast forward 2 days after she got out and she left again and blocked my number despite me doing nothing wrong and trying to be supportive. I am not perfect by any means, I am too down to earth and lack ambition, I guess you could say. I'm content with just being financially stable and providing a decent life for us and our son, but my wife has always had very lofty goals. She wants to move to a different state and cut off everyone and has her mind set on acquiring a house well beyond our means, and has hinted that she would go there on her own and leave our son and I behind if need be, and that she didn't need us and could get whatever she wanted on her own. The thing is, when I met my wife she was homeless and did anything it took to get by and hung around a lot of unsavory types because she just didn't care and lived day to day not caring what happened. She broke free from that life when she met me and was doing well for years until for some reason her past caught up to her. I blame a lot of what has happened on her getting back in contact with her old best friend who is heavily into meth, who used to also be her old FWB. He is homeless and gets by through robbery and stealing and has been in jail a few times. I feel like maybe I'm not street smart enough for my wife. There are many times where she tried to convince me to steal items or even hit her, and I feel like I wasn't abusive enough for her to be happy. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's all I can come up with. I feel like my wife enjoys the struggle of losing control while high, not knowing where she will sleep, not knowing where her next meal will come from, and in all honesty she has never cared about our son. There are times when she just bend over naked in front of our son and ask me to have sex with her then and there, for instance. I have truly wanted this marriage to work, but I feel like it's just pointless even bothering anymore. The first 3 times I was heartbroken, but this time I just feel indifferent, honestly. To the point that I feel so disillusioned that I could literally divorce her tomorrow and get into a new relationship with somebody who is the polar opposite of my wife and not even miss a step or look back whatsoever. When my wife introduced me to her mother early on in our relationship, before we got married obviously, her mother pulled me to the side and warned me that her daughter was a severe hypochondriac. I ignored it at the time, but as each day passed I feel like this was the truth. There were many times when my wife was just experiencing a cold or was on her period and would whine constantly until I took her to the ER, where we got nothing but a bill. I can honestly say that my wife has been to the ER at least a dozen times in just the past 2 years, and we've accumulated a lot of debt due to this, which has led to getting loans and taking out more loans to pay off loans in an endless cycle where we went from financially secure to living paycheck to paycheck at best. I'm not trying to sound insensitive by any means, I am just calling it as I see it, and I feel like I was abused, but worse yet, that our son was abused due to having to go through all of this and witness his mother in states he should never have to witness. I guess that about covers things though. I would like to say I'm hurt over all of this, but I'm not whatsoever. All of my sympathy/empathy for her ended after what I've been through while being with her. The sad thing is that without my wife's income and the amount of debt I now have, there is no possible way that I can afford the house, so I'm either moving back in with my parents or going to be homeless, at 34 years old. Yeah. If anything, I'm just angry because I did everything right and it didn't matter because I never had a say in anything despite paying most of the bills, preparing 99% of meals, cleaning the house 99% of the time, taking our son to school 99% of the time, and pulling 99% of the weight in the relationship overall. All my wife ever did for me was provide sex often and spontaneously, and when it comes to our son, she gave birth to him? At least when my time comes decades from now, I can die knowing I tried my best and I was a damn good father, better than even my own father who was excellent and raised my brother and I the best he could manage. I honestly pity my wife because she is incapable of knowing love and just fakes it to make it when it comes to everything. I get that her past was rough, but I feel as though she blew everything out of proportion, and from her stories she told me through the years, she always had a thing for older guys and was masturbating multiple times a day from a young age and called me daddy during sex, so I honestly just don't know what to believe anymore when it comes to her. I know that she isn't genuine when it comes to a lot of things and fabricates issues and has a kink for abuse and enjoys suffering, none of which I understood as it was irrational to me, but I played along just to placate her. Sorry, I guess I am rambling at his point, but I had to get all of that off of my chest before the shell shock wears off. Thank you all for your time, and I appreciate any replies that bear fruit because this basket is empty right now and I can't tell apples from oranges because I don't have any.